So I saw a wild card today and I was hoping it wouldn't be like Redemption, but it thankfully wasn't, but I don't know, it was okay. Wild Card is another small Jason Statham movie where Jason Statham's character is living in Las Vegas and I don't think he's a private eye, but he used to do all these different types of mercenary work and used to be in special forces, and so now he helps other people deal with problems of all sorts, because there's 3 different problems he has in this movie. One of his jobs is helping this one guy get a girl. Another job is giving this one kid the sights of Las Vegas and helping him gamble and stuff. And while the other job is to help this one girl who got beat up get revenge. So let's just say his jobs vary. Now, while he does have different jobs within this movie, there are 2 main things about this film. For one, his character has a lot of troubles leaving Vegas. It seems like every time he has the opportunity to leave, he just completely squanders it. And the other job is a revenge story where he's helping this one girl who got beat up by these 3 people. And so now he's trying to help her find these people so she can get her revenge, because these people, they have connections. And that's Wild Card. That's about it. Now, Wild Card isn't as basic as that premise sounded. There is a few different subplots going around, but it never gets too jumbled. And it has a pretty decent performance by Jason Statham. Now, thankfully, this is not a film that is like Redemption. Redemption seems to be a pretty polarized film. You either loved it because it was different, it was well acted by Jason Statham, and it was more of a drama, or you absolutely hated it because it wasn't enough action and it was just bogged down with themes and stories, and there was something about it that felt too dense and too heavy. While I didn't hate the film, I definitely disliked the film, and thankfully Wild Card doesn't do too much of that. Actually, it really doesn't do any of that. It is a character piece with Jason Statham, but at the same time it doesn't go into too much detail, so you actually get your thriller sort of action movie. But at the same time, this does harm the film because ultimately it feels like it's dipping a little bit into drama but not enough, and then a little bit into action but also not enough. A little heavier in the action side, but that's only because of 3 brilliant action scenes. Now, easily the best thing about this film is Jason Statham is the main character. There are some pretty decent actors throughout the film, and overall the 3 action sequences are really good. It's what you expect from Jason Statham. And there's some really good stylized slow motion throughout the film, not only just for the action but some dramatic parts as well. The one thing about the slow motion though is while it is stylized and there are some really great shots with the slow motion, there is a few times, just a few, where it feels completely unnecessary to use slow motion, and it just feels like it's just trying to lengthen the running time. There's also a lot of great cameos in this film that I was surprised by. One of them is the villain of this movie, who I didn't really think was going to be the villain. I didn't think he was going to be in this movie. He was the guy, one of the main guys from Hero. Milo, cannot pronounce that last name. He's played a lot of villainous characters and a lot of pretty terrible, despicable people, and this is no different in this film, but it always surprises me when he plays such a despicable, terrible person, and I almost commend him a lot for that because I always know him as the guy from Heroes, and he was one of the best characters in that series. There was plenty of great characters in that series, but he was one of my favorites. And so, like I said, it always surprises me when he plays such a despicable and terrible person, and he's no different in this film. The 3 different fight scenes in the movie are really epic and pretty great. They might not be as epic as other Jason Statham films. There's plenty of other movies he's been in that have had better fights, but they really stick out in this movie, and they were really great to watch. I think the main problem of this film is it's, like I said, it's pretty basic. and there's just something about it that just feels like it's not innovative enough, it's not new enough, it's just sort of meh. And I think the structure of the film really threw me for a loop because it starts off making it look like it's going to be a thriller. Scratch that, the first scene I didn't know what to think about when I was watching the film. It just seems so unlike what I was expecting. But then the opening credits start and you realize it's going to be a thriller because it shows this one girl beat badly, thrown in front of a hospital, sent to the emergency room, and you think, oh, she's going to recruit Jason Statham and they're going to get revenge. And the whole movie leads up to that until it gets to the halfway mark when they have their revenge sequence. And then it just sort of turns into a totally different movie. And it's all about Jason Statham in it, and it's all about him suddenly gambling and getting really lucky. And then that's when we get the character problems of how he can't leave Vegas and stuff, and it's just really thrown in there. It's like you couldn't have put that towards the beginning of the film somewhere, because it feels like you start this story, you don't know much about the characters, and then suddenly it gets to the point where it's getting good, and then suddenly the filmmakers are like, oh, we need to develop our character, let's throw in this scene, and then it just sort of spirals into chaos. But then eventually it does get back to the thriller aspect, and it gets back to these bad guys coming after Jason Statham, and so then I thought, okay, at least the bad guys are back in this movie, because I was worried that this revenge was done, and then the rest of the 40 minutes of the movie is just going to be about Jason Statham gambling his life away. In the end, I was entertained. It's one of those movies where I can watch and be fine with seeing it for the first time. But overall, I'm probably never going to see this movie again, and, well, quite frankly, I'm probably going to forget most of it. But I'm still on the fence. I'm not quite a 2, but I'm not quite 2.5. I'm just going to say 2. So have you seen Wild Card? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If you haven't seen Wild Card, what is your favorite Jason Statham film? And as always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.